Hello, everyone, and welcome to MATHurdays. Math's so fun, we do it on Saturday. My name is Teresa Wells. I'm an assistant professor out of George Mason University in the Mathematics Education Leadership program. I've been teaching online now for 10 years. I really enjoy teaching online, and I'm here today to show you what a 1-hour math block might look like. Today we're going to be working on linear functions. It is completely accessible to fourth grade students. Oh, you can't hear yet. Can everyone else hear me? Testing, testing. Okay, wonderful. Um, this is completely accessible to fourth grade students, which I think is really powerful when we talk about Algebra 1 problems. And those of you who teach Algebra 1 will definitely see some major concepts of rate of change, slope, y-intercept, and more in today's activity. So hope you enjoy it. I definitely had fun making it. And to get started, if you are new to us, welcome. We frequently have several people who have come to several of these workshops and several people that are brand new to it. As you learn the technology, you will find friends in all the folks that are here. We are all very patient and calm while we're learning the tech and how to do this. And in order to fully interact, you all are going to need a copy of the slides. I can see many of you are in now, but in the chat box is the link to the interactive slides. And there are some pretty important things on slide 2. If you don't want to have to do more creation, you want some templates already done, I have several templates here, and I have a bunch more coming up soon that I'm excited to share with everyone. And then also, if you like today's session, you want to see some recordings of past sessions. I have everything from counting to calculus in here, and we kind of look at math tasks and a routine every single week. You'll notice there's the recording, completed slides, and then the blank, fresh, clean slides with no markings on them. So those are available there. I'd love to hear about you all. If you join me on either slide 3 or 4, pick your spot. And you're going to share successes and celebrations, which means you're going to grab a text box. There's a little picture on the left of this slide that shows you what it looks like. And you're going to tell us what's going on in your life, but please don't feel constrained to text. Some people like to use images. Some people like to use animated GIFs. Some people like to use Bitmojis and more. But tell us a little bit about you in this format. I'll tell you a little bit about me. Everyone has these beautiful pictures of their house and like how it's all looking like, all professionally done. Well, this is my basement. My kiddos made a epic blanket fort last night and decided to sleep in the blanket fort. So things are looking a little fun at my house. If you're just joining us, welcome. We're sharing successes and celebrations on slide 3 and 4. And Kathy, you're celebrating that it's rained. Where are you coming from? Can you turn on your mic and just tell us where you're coming from and why that's important to you?
Yes, I'm in California, Central Valley. We actually got a full inch of rain, and that actually is about 1/5 of our normal. California a drought in our area. And so it's great. Not only did we get actual rain, it snowed in the mountains, and that's where we get most of our water.
Wow, it's so nice to connect with geography and other places and the importance of that. Right now, my front yard is pretty soggy. So we definitely have some differences there, but so happy that California is seeing some rain. Who has the adorable picture of your son with the 1 degree outside? Burr? Is that Celsius or Fahrenheit? And where are you coming from?
That's me, Laura, and we're in Vermont, and it's 1 degree Fahrenheit this
Ooh,
week. Cold.
Burr. Are you all expecting more snow?
Not in the near future, but it's nice and cold out still today.
Very cool. We are expecting our first real like sleddable snow this weekend. I saw somebody else brought up snow tomorrow. Yay. If that was you, where are you coming from and why does this excite you? And maybe let's hear from Gail. It looks like you have a lovely little snowman. Is this one you made or is this a Google image? Just curious.
So this one is a Google image. It looks like the one the neighbor kids made next door last weekend, and we've got another 4 to 8 maybe coming tonight, tomorrow.
And Gail, tell us where you're coming from.
Chicagoland.
Nice. Awesome. Gosh, so many fun things. Somebody said they used Google Slides for the first time, or not for the first time, that they used them this past week and it was fun. Who's this? And what tips do you have for other teachers?
This is Susie, and I think it was really fun for the students, but there was also just some challenges because there's just quite a range of tech abilities with the students. So I think some of them got a little frustrated, but it was really fun to see them get excited about just using an interactive slides.
So true. I noticed the same thing, in a variety of, whoever I teach, whether it is little kiddos in kindergarten, if it is adults, veteran teachers, brand new teachers. Um, if there is one kind of thing that I've learned with all the technology, it's that it gives me as a teacher the opportunity to show my students how I have productive struggle with my own like workings. So when I get frustrated, how do I show my frustration? Do I give up or do I keep trying some new things? So I try to be very explicit in modeling to my kiddos what I'm doing because I want them to do those same things when they're working on a math task. So awesome. And thank you for sharing that. Love what's coming up on these slides. You can see people get really personal here. And let's jump right into our routine today. So if you're new to MATHurdays, I typically show a 1-hour math block, a little bit of community building at the beginning, going into a math routine, jumping into a rich task with group problem solving, and then using the 5 practices to hold a discussion. So today I'm going to be using slow reveal graphs, and guess what, folks? There's a bunch already made for you. So check out Jenna's Twitter and Slow Reveal Graphs website to get more. And if you're just joining us, this next part, the way that we're going to do this is through the chat box. So you can, if you like, just follow me on the Collaborate. And we're going to use the chat box to do a chat waterfall. So slide 6 has some lovely little lines. And a chat waterfall works by you writing something that you notice about this graph in the chat box, but don't hit enter yet. Don't hit enter yet. We're going to hit enter at the same time. So head over to Collaborate, go to the chat box, and write something that you notice. How would you describe this graph? And as the first set of chat waterfalls come in, you are welcome to continue writing and hitting enter if you have more ideas. But it is sometimes nice to see a whole bunch appear at once. So go ahead and hit enter. What you'll notice is the chat box is going to be filled with responses. As the teacher, I can then read some of these and ask a couple students to speak out loud. But this also builds student confidence in participating in your class because they can kind of get lost in the crowd. It's not like everyone's staring at them. And I'm going to start off with Molly. Hi, Molly. Can you tell us, you said that two lines overlap. Where do you see that?
Hi. Yeah, I was looking at those, the green and the yellow lines kind of intersecting with each other.
And do you see it like, tell me, I'm going to start moving this arrow. You tell me kind of when to stop when I'm there.
Sorry, my thing, you need to go back. My thing was,
That's
I was
okay.
muted.
That's okay.
That happened. It's at the point where they just start to touch, which is it's underneath the arrow right now. Yeah, right about there.
Right about there. Cool. So I did ask Molly to tell me where you were referencing, because if I was going to use my own teacher brain, I might have chosen here, I may have chosen here, I may have chosen here. So it's important to me to value her voice. If during our conversations you're like, whoa, I did not think of that, please let us know with the whoa, I didn't think of that emoji. You can look through in the emojis. This is the one my students typically use. That's like an aha moment. It's always fun to see how many of those we get. And also, Mary, you mentioned that only one ultimately increased. Can you tell us which one you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm talking about the gold. I believe it's the gold line. It's kind of hard to tell because your arrow is in front of the increase.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a beginning and there's an end to the line, and the gold is the only line that is above where it started.
Cool. Ah, I see that there's some people that are having aha moments. So where it originally started. How about I turn this arrow so we can see it? Excellent. And we're going to continue with our chat waterfall. This graph is going to reveal some new stuff. Here we go. What additional information do we know now? And you might also tell us like what you notice about number of years. Go ahead and put your thoughts in the chat, but hold off on hitting enter. And go ahead and start that waterfall. Laura, you mentioned something about 1992. What's so special here and what do you notice?
Hi, Teresa. I noticed that in 1992, all of the graphs, like there was like a spike or an increase. So I'm wondering something must have happened because that data point shows an increase across all four line graphs.
Ah, so there's something powerful here. And Kathy, you noticed that there's something about every 4 years. How did you see that in the graph?
When I looked at the labels on the horizontal axis, I noticed that these things were pretty much every 4 year, which made me wonder if it was like presidential or something, presidential elections. And so it seems like there are shifts in each one of the graphs for those.
There's shifts there. Very cool. I noticed that Gail is also giving us some other information that happens every 4 years, like the Olympics, but now they're winter summer. How cool is that? How might we use this graph for Olympics, Gail?
Just, I don't know, countries from parts of the world that participants, different year, numbers of participants in different sports. Not sure.
Yeah, but I like your connection to the Olympics there. Very cool. Um, on slide 8, I'm going to go ahead and reveal that one. Um, some of the questions in here are like, what does the 0% and 100% mean? Maybe if you track these lines, what story does it tell? We're going to do a chat waterfall again in just a minute. Go ahead and get your ideas in. All right, let's see that chat. So now it seems like we're getting more into either the presidential election or the Olympics. How fun is that we're able to make those connections? I'm going to move into a couple more here just so we can have a chance to explore. And we're not going to do the chat waterfall anymore. Instead, we'll just open the chat box to lots of different thoughts. What new information do we have now on slide 9? So a lot of people are starting to think about ages. And now, how about now that we have a title? Voting rates by ages. So looking at this graph, why do you think it stops at 2016? What do you wish you knew more about? Hi, Martha. You mentioned that maybe we don't have that data yet. Tell me why you think that. Like, what kind of makes you have that direction in your thinking?
Because the election was not that long ago.
Mhm.
Kind of a simple answer.
Yeah, we could maybe even predict it, right? We could say like what we're thinking. And Julia, you mentioned that 1992. Um, you're right there along with me. I want to know what happened there. Something's going on there. So this is the original graph. This is the source. And again, if you head to Jenna's website, what I did here is actually took it directly off her site. I didn't make any real changes to it, just to kind of showcase a way that we can do this online. I do also really enjoy the opportunity to use breakout rooms. But one of the things I was trying to showcase in this example is how we increase student confidence using this task. So by using the chat waterfall, kids can get kind of lost in the crowd, which is something that they start to appreciate. I'm going to select certain students to speak based on my goals. And then I like to keep the recordings directly on the graph, right along with what people are saying and seeing the way that those recordings change over time. The Emoji Connect, I actually get a lot more participation with my middle school students with the emojis. It's like they just can't stop putting them in the chat box. And what that tells me is that they want a voice, they want a chance to kind of share their thinking, and they're in front of their computers and they're ready to engage. So those are some of the things that I like to bring into the virtual world. All right, folks, as we move into our math task, it does relate to a book. So I have a little read aloud here for us to start with and give us some prior knowledge in the task we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and hit play on this.
We Are Growing by Lori Keller. Peggy, look at this new book. It is as exciting as watching grass grow. Because it is watching grass grow. Exciting! Let's read it. We are growing. An elephant and Piggy like reading book. You have a new friend. Those words look so nice and neat. What was that? I think I just grew. Look! Wow! You did grow. Look at that. I just grew all by myself. Cool, huh? I know. I made it look easy. But growing is hard work. In fact, hey, I just grew. Bam! Zip. We are all growing. You are growing tall. I am the tallest. He is the tallest. You are growing curly. I am the curliest. You are growing silly. I am the silliest. We are pointy. We are the pointiest. You are crunchy. I am the crunchiest. I am the daintiest. You are a dandelion. A weed. Hey, I have been called worse. So, what are you, Walt? Me? Well, I am not the tallest, or the curliest, or the silliest, or the pointiest, or the crunchiest, or the daintiest. What am I? I do not know what I am. Food. It is okay. We will help you. I know. You are. Never mind. Hey.
Yes?
Maybe not. Let me think. Well, so what are you? Hurry up, Walt. Tell us. Come on. Think, Walt, think. You can do it. Oh, no. What a mess. I am not the curliest anymore. I am not the tallest anymore. We are not the anythingest anymore. Do not worry. You will grow again. We will? Yay! We will grow again. Grow, grow, grow! Before we grow, let's clean this place up. Hey, I think I know what I am. I am neat. You are neat. You are neat. You are so neat. You are the neatest. I am the neatest. We are all the somethingest. This book is the funniest. Yeah, I love to read. Me too. Do you know what that makes us? Yep, we are the readiest.
Thanks for joining us, guys. And remember,
All right, folks. So that's going to give us some prior knowledge about what we are doing today. As I am about to reveal the rich task, it's all about these little pieces of grass that are growing, and we're going to look at the rates in which they grow, the visual image, the slope intercept, or the y-intercept, the slope, and we're going to make this accessible to fourth graders all the way through Algebra 1. So that's our task for today. On slide 15, I'm going to give everyone the opportunity to take this problem-solving oath. It says, I, Teresa, promise to try my best. I will make sense of patterns and numbers. I will use manipulatives and drawings. I will make mistakes. I will ask questions. I will listen to other ideas. I will stay engaged by always trying to find another solution or representation. I am a problem solver. I make the world a better place. As you've noticed, several of our friends have already put their names in the chat box. That is their way of saying publicly that, yes, I'm taking this oath today. Feel free to join them in the chat box. And on slide 16 are several manipulatives that you might choose to use today. I highly recommend the Graph Creator in the purple, especially if you are elementary and early middle school. Desmos on the right if you are secondary. And in just a moment, you're going to head into breakout rooms and you've got some tasks to do. Each group will have a different task, so make sure that you go to your group slide. You'll see a visual of the grass that is growing, and you're going to think about the 5 representations for this, for how this might look. There's some follow-up activities for you to explore with some pattern blocks for you to do once you are done with the initial. I hope you have fun with this. It was super fun to make. And let's see, we'll do 5 groups. And I'll pop into your groups momentarily just to make sure everyone knows exactly where to go. Alrighty, let's see. And our breakout rooms are starting now. Turn on your microphones and say hello.
Cool. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, folks. I just
Hello.
wanted to make sure you all knew that you were group 1, so you'll be starting on slide 17.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So, make the next that we've had in 40 years nearly. So
Oh,
it's
wow.
good.
Fun.
Hi,
Let's see.
everyone. I just want to make sure you all knew that you were group 2, so your slides start on 22.
Yep. Thank you,
Yeah.
Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa. Happy to see your face.
Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get into slide 20. We're on slide 2.
What did she say? Slide what?
22. Well, actually, 23 is where we start. Let's see. Okay. Okay, let me see what it says.
Yeah,
Gru.
like it was sort of,
How do you
Can
feel
we
about
copy
being the
people?
crunchiest?
oh, I see. The book page at the top.
So we're
Okay.
the only ones that are the crunchiest, okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have some holes taken out of us.
So if you were to use kind of mathematical words to describe the way you're growing, what do you grow with each time?
One rectangle and one square.
Ooh, very cool.
And the rectangles appear to be half of a square. So it's like we're growing by 1.5 each time.
Cool thinking. Hey there, Group 4. I saw that someone was having some issues with microphones. Um, if
Can you
oh, I
can you
can.
hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. We couldn't hear each other at all, but now maybe
Interesting.
you can hear me
I
and I can
can.
hear you, but I don't know about the other three.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put you all back up in the main room. You're still going to be a group together. This is really
Okay.
interesting. It happened to me this weekend also, or on Friday. So yeah, let me move you to the main group, and you'll still all be together.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to hit update. Y'all be in the main room. All right, folks, any luck on hearing
Oh,
everyone now?
cool. I think so.
I am
Oh,
so sorry.
wonderful.
I don't know why that happened, but I hope that it's fixed.
Oh yeah, what'd you do, Teresa?
You know, I just put you instead of room 4 into the main room. This happened to me yesterday also, and it was group 4, so I don't know if they're doing an update or something. I'll check into that. I'll ping them on
Oh
Twitter.
my goodness. Sorry, Teresa.
No, I'm so glad you told me. Yeah, so you guys have like the pair of grass blades here. You've got the pointiest, and it's almost like they're twins.
Yeah, I can share my screen. Oh, I don't think I can do that yet. So it looks like we are growing by one of the squares each time.
Uh-huh.
So it would be 5.
Just a little bit.
All right, let me add in. So we're gonna put it. Yes, perfect. See, we've got our 12-pointed star, and then we got the 5-cube base.
Yeah, just there you go. Hallelujah.
I love it. There you go. All right.
Hey,
Yeah,
Teresa.
so I think we're ready for the next. You wanna?
Oh, do we want to
have,
move on?
Yeah, we've got a lot of tasks. Yeah, we got.
Okay, we're going to the next one.
I know. She's keeping us busy today. I love it. I love it.
Create a graph, table, story, problem, and equation to represent this growing pattern. Okay. We are growing. I am the dandiest, that's for sure. Okay, create a graph, table, story, problem, and equation. Write a real word story problem here.
Oh, so like how would this, like a story problem, like what this would look like in the real world?
Right. Okay. I'll take that on.
And folks, if you want some support with a graph, there's a great manipulative up on slide 16. It lets you graph, but it does kind of, you might need the table first. So you might think about that in your group.
Okay, that's good.
Oh,
So
we have this one figured out about the table, right?
Oh yeah, because we were adding notes on the first task as we went along.
1, 2,
So
3,
yeah.
4. So
Yeah.
it went from 4 to 6 to 8 to 10. Yep. Numbers and symbols.
All right, let me click on the link to pull up the virtual manipulative to make the graph. Let's see. So 1, 4, 2, 6.
Been with my students and it's been working really well.
Hi,
I
group.
actually find the first one much more confusing.
Where did you guys get your graph from? Is that Desmos?
It is Desmos.
Very cool. If you are in the elementary grades, Desmos is still fantastic, but if you're looking for another type of graph on slide 16, the very first one, the graph creator, it really gets into the purpose of using the labels on the XY axis in the main title, and it forces especially our younger kids to think about that. But great.
You're saying on slide 16, you said?
Yes, that purple graph creator.
Okay. You could do that for math problems, probably. Make the multiplication of 2, you know? Or with the Cuisinart rods.
Okay, minimum
you, okay, what do I want for, this is something I'm not sure what, no, I don't want 84. Let's go 10, let's go 11. Trying to think.
I think it's -1, right?
Oh my gosh, I put 111 by accident. We could put minus, I mean, we could take it depending on our what we come up with. We could take it back as far as we wanted to. Okay, let me just see what happens when I graph it.
It's +1, isn't it?
Let's see. I'm going to
I don't think
I know
it's
you're right,
right.
-1.
Yeah, because otherwise we can't get 1 and 1.
Okay, that does not look good. No, okay.
Hi there, group.
I struggle with the story problems.
Let's
So when in the
see.
real world do you double something and then take just one away? What kind of situations happen?
Oh gosh, I didn't even, I'm so busy trying to graph, I'm not even thinking about a
Yeah,
situation.
you worry about the graph, Lisa, no worries.
But Teresa's question, you could be, let's just say, cutting a circular piece of food. So maybe you cut it in 2 pieces
And then you eat it?
Eat one. Or you cut it now, double that to 4 pieces, and you give 1 slice away or 1 cookie or whatever. So you could do that with food. I don't really like that situation, but that's just something that popped into my head.
You double the recipe and eat a cookie.
Yeah, there we go.
I would probably eat more than 1 cookie though, so.
Okay, I do not like what I've done at all. This is not good.
Should I go to Desmos and give it a whirl?
Yes. I'm just like, it's coming up with,
oh, I saw it.
Use these different, okay, let me try something different here. So I wanted to go label down.
Hello there, group 3. What a clever way of defining what a piece is. I see that happening right now on your table. Why is that so important?
Well, the title said just plain numbers of pieces, but they weren't the same size, so we decided to base it on amount or size.
Very clever. Love it.
Let's see.
Oops, I put 5 instead of 4. Was 10. I've never used this, so I'm wondering what it looks like.
What are you using, that app that was on
the Kids Zone Create a Graph?
Yeah, I'm going to play with that.
All right, so we've got our graph. And we're working on our story.
All right, if you are watching this at this recording, one of the things that I do right at about the end of the group time is I start to select and sequence which ones I'm going to be talking about. There's some really important things that are happening here, and it's the idea of like, do we double? Do we start at 2? Do we start at 4? What is really the rate of change? What is the y-intercept? And that's some of the things I really want to bring out in the graphs. So what I'm going to do is wait until each group has their graph and their table, and I'd really love the equation also. so that we can compare where the 2 is and where the 1 is in each situation. That'll really help to give us an idea of what rate of change is and what slope is and how they're different in each of these situations. And this group here even put the +2s going along the side, which is exactly what I'm looking for. So I'm going to copy that, bring it down, paste it, and these are kind of my discussion slides below there. They're still coming up with their equation. They're still making a graph. Still coming up with the equation. They've got all 3. And these are going to be some interactive tools that I want the participants to be able to use as they're talking about their problem. Oh, yay, they just got theirs. Let's check the other groups. They're still working on their graph. Oh, good, they got their equation. And then to check for understanding, I'm actually going to take this group that didn't have a graph and we are going to describe it in our whole group. Like now that we have a sense for graphs, what would this look like? And I'm going to give them a chance to create a graph. And finally, I'm going to give them a heads up that we are coming back together. And what I like to do is just put this on every slide so that people kind of get the little alert message. I see what slide they're on and just paste it in. Okay, and now I'm going to head on back.
Continuously getting bigger.
Yeah, but I don't have like 5 pieces, right? I can't really have 5 in there.
Mm-hmm.
So
I made
now
this on Desmos. If we want to label that too.
Label it what?
I said I made this one on Desmos and we could label it on Google Slides if you like this. So if you take a screenshot of yours, we can just add the labels on Google Slides if that makes sense.
So I need to find us again. Where are we? I
Slide
got too many
35.
tabs open already. Like which tab?
Welcome back, everyone. We are all together now in the main room. Hi there and welcome back. All right, folks. So just to be completely transparent about my teaching strategies here, I really wanted in the small groups for you to focus on those 5 ways of looking at a function. However, I wanted to provide an additional opportunity for you to play around with things like the pattern blocks later to make your own growing pattern, in which case I would use those in future lessons. But if I could get everyone to come on down to slide 53, we're going to have about a 10-minute discussion, and some of the purposes of this discussion is to talk about rate of change, slope, and y-intercept, and what those are in an Algebra 1 class. I've monitored your different stations and talked with you all about things, selected and sequenced, and now I'm going to make some connections. And typically I don't select every single one of them, but these 5 were chosen for a very specific reason. So let's take a look. I'm on slide 54. And if I could get this group to talk to us about how much the grass is growing. What did you notice in terms of the growth?
It was increasing by 2.
It was increasing by 2. And did it start with any pieces at all?
Started with 1.
It started with 1. All right, so I've got some interactive pieces over on the left. I have a slope arrow, a y-intercept arrow, and then the corresponding pink and yellow circles. That's for you all. If you see the slope and the y-intercept somewhere on this image, feel free to move those interactive tools. And we definitely have that going on in the equation. And so we're going to be looking for where that equation lines up in the table. Awesome. So I can see somebody has already identified slope as over on the right. If that was you, can you tell us why these things are the slope? Feel free to turn on your mic and tell us why you put slope over there. How about, can someone from group 1 tell us what this little like +2, +2, +2, +2 means?
It was identifying the pattern that we were seeing.
Yeah, seeing that pattern. And how do we see that pattern in the image, the picture? So I'm going to make a duplicate of this. If anyone sees the slope going on over here in the picture, where would I notice it?
So, oh, it just, are you talking us from the group or?
Sure, from your group, where would you notice the slope?
So from the first slide to the second slide, the one started with 1 and then we added 2 bars to it. And the next one, the same 2 bars. Then the next slide, the same 2 bars.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can see that people are starting to mark up the slide exactly. And how do I see the 2 bars in the equation down here? Where do I see the 2 bars?
In
the 2x?
Yeah, so that 2x is showing the same as the 2 bars, is showing the same as the 2 over on the side. And this is a really important concept for kiddos, especially in Algebra 1, that they see the connection to all of those and to the graph. Let's take a look at a couple others, and we're going to focus on this slope, this growth rate for a little while. On slide 50, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just, when I've done that activity with those slides, yeah, I've had the kids use different colors, use colored pencils to color in what did it start with and find the start on the next one. And then they can identify what changed, because some of the diagrams or some of the are a little more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And so using the different colors helped.
Absolutely. So by those colors, you mean even on the visual, on the graph, on the table?
Yeah. So the first bar would have been one color.
Ah.
And then the second slide, they would have identified that starting point with the same color. And then they would have been able to say, oh, these two things are different. So now they have a new color for the second pair.
Yeah.
And then what happened? So then the whole next one would be, what would all the, what's changing in the next one? So from slide to slide, making sense of what's changing, and they were able to identify that two things are happening. And so that was before we had cool technology when I was doing that. We had cool. So
what I'm going to do in this next one is kind of blink between two of them. And I'm going to do this on purpose on my screen. If this is bothering you, you can definitely look at your screen. But why is the table, graph, and equation identical on slide 54 and 55? Why are these identical? Anyone is welcome to turn on their mic and share with us. If you prefer to move those interactive pieces, feel free. But these are very different pieces of grass. Why are they identical? Raha, would you share with us what you mean by same slope?
So both the graphs are showing an increase of 2. So they're both showing a slope of 2, which means that even though the y-intercepts are different, the slopes are the same. So they're like parallel lines. They're the same lines in different points.
So let's unpack that a little bit. Angela, you're right on the point of where I was thinking of unpacking. Tell us about the grass.
Well, we're ultimately looking at how high the grass was growing. And so both of the grass ended up being the same height. So when we're graphing the height of the grass, no matter which direction it was going to get to that height, that's how high the graph was.
And Angela, what you're talking about often comes up in distance when we're talking about how far we walked versus the starting point. It's another great concept in algebra. Let's see, Laura, you bring up the account of the shape of the grass. Tell me more about that.
I think it's sort of what we were just talking about. So even though is it the curliest? The silliest. Even though the silliest is sort of going sideways and then up, it's growing the same amount as the tallest, which is only going straight up. And that direction of growth gets lost in the linear equation and graph.
Mm-hmm. And Gail, you bring up a really neat idea here. On slide 54, we have the y-intercept going below the origin. Can you explain to me what you're thinking about where the y-intercept is on slide 55?
On slide 55, they started with stage 1, so it doesn't show stage 0. And so to show a y-intercept, we'd need to continue to the left and have that stage 0.
Cool. So the y-intercept is still here. It's just kind of further down.
Yeah.
Further down
Yeah.
on this graph a little bit because they started at 1. They didn't start at 0.
And so both graphs do have the same equations there.
They do. There is another one that was kind of peculiar here. On slide 56, we have the dandiest. And would this group share with us how did you think about this equation and how did you get 2s plus 2?
Well, we looked at our dandelion and thought about there's 4 stages. What's the difference between each of those dandelion tops? And we noticed that at each stage it pushed out 2 more petals. And so that's how we got there. It started with stage 1 with 4 petals. Stage 2 was 6, stage 3 was 8, stage 4 was 10. So it's an increase of 2. We're adding 2 just as everyone else has.
Ah, so there is an adding of 2, but that adding of 2 appears different than the next slide, slide 57. If your group did slide 57, how did you see adding of 2?
We saw that, this is Kathy, by the way, I'm sorry. We saw that it began with 2 pieces. Each one had the triangles on top. The number of triangles never changed, but the number of squares did. So the growth was related to the squares, but the triangles remain the same.
Neat. And so we might even predict what this graph could be using slide 56. Think about what that graph might look like. And if you think you have an idea, feel free to share in the chat box. Feel free to turn on your mic, or feel free to put a graph on slide 57. What might it look like? Is there a way we can predict the graph on slide 57? They don't have it there, but could we predict it? I saw somebody pasted it. If that was you, tell us, why did we copy somebody else's work? Why does that work here?
Well, since they have the same equation, it seems like the graph would be the same. So I just copied it from the previous slide. Does that work?
Yeah, it absolutely does. So here we have a very different context, but our graph appears the same. We might want to change some labels, but overall we have the same slope and the same y-intercept. And that can be really powerful for students to see the 2 images being so different, yet the graphs being the same. And then finally, we have the crunchiest. This one was a little different than the whole rest of the group. But if you are part of the crunchiest group on slide 58, would you tell us, your graph, why is this similar to some of the others that we saw? What do you think, group who picked crunchiest? How is your situation similar to the others?
All of the graphs changed each stage by the same amount. So each type of graph had the same increase from stage to stage. So they all have this constant slope.
Yep, and that there is what makes it a linear function. They all have the same constant slope. All right, folks, I mentioned at the beginning that this problem is accessible to 4th graders because they are working on pattern development and specifically starting to put that idea into a table. For my teachers who teach 4th grade and grade levels that are below Algebra 1, I hope that you see the importance of when students make connections between the table and the picture and where they're going in the future in terms of equations and graphs, because we really do set the foundation in the early grades for Algebra 1. So folks, that's the top of the hour. The main questions that I was going to ask today are on slide 59. If you all have any questions, I'm happy to take them in the virtual parking lot I'm going to share the recording of this today. And I do think that several of you all are jumping into your algebra unit. So if you choose to use this, feel free. I'd love to hear about your successes and the way that you change it. But thanks for talking slope and Y-intercept with me. And I hope you all have a great rest of your weekend. I'll stay on for anyone who has any other questions. Oh, the person who asked what grade level is Algebra 1, I think most schools in the U.S. teach Algebra 1 as a ninth grade class. However, many states are moving to Algebra 1 being an eighth grade class, so it's around the 8th to ninth. Ooh, a book for a shrinking linear pattern. Can you give me a little more context on what you are referring to, a shrinking linear pattern?
So instead of having a positive linear equation, could we create one with I want one with a negative linear equation, so we would start with a larger value and shrink. And a children's book is fine. I mean, off the top of your head, I'm sure I could go search and find one.
I'd love to add one on here. Right now I'm in a brain block where I'm only thinking of like exponential growth or
Right.
But where it's
And like,
decreasing.
if your kids are still 4 and 5 years old, you might pull one out of your hat, but
it's not really shrinking. Is it
decreasing?
Yeah.
Change that. Let me change that to decreasing.
Or decreasing, yeah.
Yeah, let me do that.
But it might actually appear in the story as if it's shrinking, as if it's getting smaller and smaller, and that K, that like scale factor, is negative.
There we go.
I'm going to look through that. You know, I've got a couple of banks that I go to. Let me see what I can do. I have a couple files. Marilyn Burns from Math Solutions has a great connection to books. Let me see if I can find that one.
All right.
I have an answer to another question. Someone asked, are there virtual manipulatives that I like? This is what I use with coming up with each task. These are just different virtual manipulatives based on the task. So I'll give that to you. You can view it and see, and it's always adding. Let's see, what would I have called this? I think it's actually my email, so I'm going to open that in a private tab.
Did you just put that into the slides somewhere and I missed it?
Into the chat box.
Into the chat box. Oh, there it is. I see it now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure thing. Let's see.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you. How much we use this. I use the stuff you've showed for even other things, not just math.
Oh, cool.
This
I'd love to hear more about like what you use and why it's useful.
I used it for Google for my kids for virtual. I did a Google Slides because I could see for journal in the morning because I could see where they were at. And then my one student who historically was coming late, I would just make him finish his journal, and I'd make the journal time 10 minutes, but I could see where they were at. So, if they weren't in typing, I could say, well, you're not typing. Yes, I am. Well, I can show you, I can see you. And, and it was great. So the kids so I would make journal like 15 minutes and then 15 minutes of writing, and the kids that finished, and then the kids that didn't were owed it to me later. So it worked really well for them. So it's really nice. And you can see where you're at.
Yeah, I really like seeing where my students are, even if my head feels a bit scrambled, which, let's be honest, often is. I can see where they are right there on the slides.
Yeah, or like a kid, was like, oh, I can't. This is a funny story. A kid kept saying he couldn't get in, and he couldn't get in, and he couldn't get in. Well, about 2 hours later, I was making journal for the next day, and there he pops on, and he was in another student's journal erasing his work.
Oh no!
So I was like, that's okay. I used, I just made him his own journal, and I kicked him out, but I find they can still get in though. If you remove them, they can still get in if if they have a Google slide open
Mm-hmm.
already and you kick them out, they can still type until they close it, which was weird.
Oh, interesting. I haven't really experienced that.
Yeah. So I just made him a new one. It was just pretty funny though.
Somebody wanted to know about the books and the linear patterns. So I put a link there. This is a document that comes out of Math Solutions, and I really like this as a starting point. It talks about, most of these are picture books, and what grade levels and topics go along with it. So if I'm trying to find a book, I usually start here, and then I just start Googling other books like it. Yeah, that list is definitely pretty cool. I've been increasing my library with these books.
So Teresa, the PDF link that you have here links to what you just had?
Yes, it should link to this.
Up.
Do you see it?
That's your mathsolutions.com/documents/lessons.
Yes.
Chart 2 PDF.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much. That will be wonderful to look through. I look forward to that.
And I'll tell you, a really cool book. This is a rather outdated, but my son has a copy of it. I'm just seeing it. Fantastic Book of 1001 Lists. You can get it for like $1 on Amazon because it's old and outdated, but the kids love just looking at huge lists of numbers. And I should see if there's a current version of it, but it is so fantastic.
What's it called again?
Let's see, it's called
Yeah.
Fantastic Book
Lists,
of
you said?
1001 Lists. This
Okay.
is it. Let's see if there's more of them, but I got mine for $1 about a year ago. And what's inside is just like lists of presidents that were born in Virginia, and it goes through them, or like lists of all the top speeds of a cheetah, or lists of the speeds on different motorcycles. It's just a bunch of lists, but the kids find it fascinating, and I'm sure there's a better one. This one was from 1999, but he still loves it. Let me see if there's any other questions on here. Oh, prime and composite. I have a great one for that. I'll need to add that. I've got the topics for several others coming up in my Eventbrite page.
That's one, no matter what benchmark we're on, that always, no matter what we've been doing, that's one where they struggle.
How about let's put that in for March 6th. You can't see it yet, but I'll be able to put that in there.
Now, I have a question if you have a minute.
Sure.
Okay, I put it in the parking lot. It's a fraction question. We're doing adding and subtracting fractions with unlike denominators. I tried to back up because of everything we've been through. I'm in 5th grade. And one of the questions we'll have is where they're having to add two fractions together, but then it's asking them how much more do they need to make up the whole. But it's written, and I can read one to you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, okay, I'll read you one where the denominators are the same. A pie was divided into fifths. Emily ate 1/5, Tony ate 2/5. How much is left? Okay, that makes sense. But when you put it into unlike denominators, they get so confused. Jason watched 1/4 of a long movie on Saturday. Then on Sunday, he watched 3/8 of a movie. How much more does he need to watch? And there's several, like mowing the yard. Is there a best way to help them understand what the problem is asking them to do? I thought I would, maybe model it not with fractions, but with whole numbers. Or maybe I should model it with pattern blocks or manipulatives.
So when you read these, the first thing that came to mind is the Math Learning Center manipulatives. For example, that one there where you said Jason, I think he started by watching 1/4. So I can kind of model that 1/4. But then in order to do eighths, like, isn't that annoying? I don't have eighths. So I can always add another circle and put it into eighths and then just kind of superimpose it on there. And when I do, I think you said 3/8 was next.
Yeah, it was 3/8.
So then I can kind of see the 3/8, and then I can talk about, okay, what is the leftover look like when it's on there.
Right.
But I don't know that you can, because if you drag that off, you can see the 1/4 and the 3/8. But I think the big message that you want to get at is your final answer can't be in fourths. And I don't know, the two images help me to see why it can't be fourths.
Right. And a lot of them will add those two together and they think that's the answer, but they're forgetting that they have to take that part, they have to subtract that from the one whole. That's that part I'm trying to get them to understand, is that you just did the first step. Now you have to do the second step. So I didn't know if I should model that with a manipulative first and then maybe some whole numbers.
So one thing that can be really useful is
if you have any
talking about two parts. So you might say like, what part did he watch and what part is left? So they have to think about part and the whole at the same time. And when they have to do both of them every time, that'll set them up better for those questions that are just looking for the difference. I hear somebody else with an idea.
Okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. Wish me luck. I'll be glad when we can go back to school.
So I would see this answer as both 5/8 and 3/8. Like I would ask my students to come up with both answers and then explain what each of those mean.
Okay. Okay, I would give them the addition one, and then I'd give them the other one and ask them which one makes sense and explain why.
And another question you can give them is give them this exact same, like everything I have on my screen here, and ask them, oh, to what question is 5/8 the right answer? And to what question is 3/8 the right answer? And so they have to create the question, which would show their kind of understanding of situations.
Okay, that makes sense too. It's causing them to think.
And guess what? When they
You
make
were
the
so
questions,
good.
you can give them back like for the next week for warm-ups, and now you have your planning done.
There you go. Okay, which question does this answer? Okay. Awesome. That will help me this week as we push on ahead. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Teresa, it reminds me of the time you did the number sense word problems as a warm-up. I don't know if that
like
would
the
help
numberless
too.
ones?
Yes, a numberless ones. I'm sorry. Yes.
So I think it was Martha we were chatting there. The numberless word problems. Let's see. I'll give you the link to where I keep these routines. It's now in the chat box. And the numberless word problems, this is just a quick at a glance. It's going to go super fast, but you'll be able to watch it again. It starts off with students being able to say, like, I can answer this problem in more than one way. I can think of another question. I then put them into pair shares where they're starting to think about it. And then I slowly start to give them numbers like, okay, what if it was 20? What does that mean in terms of your problem? And it gets them to think about the context of the story problem versus just what's the answer.
Right. Instead of just, oh, I got two numbers, I'm going to add them together.
So if you do want to see that, I have, it's like a 10-minute routine, a recording, and then the blank template. Rahel, that's a really great idea. I like that.
Thank you, ladies, so much. I thoroughly enjoyed these.
Yay.
Yeah. I've got nowhere else to be on most Saturdays right now, so this is quite fun.
I feel ya. I definitely feel ya.
Oh, thank you so very much.
Yeah.
Did you see I added the clock on the top left, the Visnos? It's a clock that you can turn into fractions.
Oh, no way. Oh, this is so cool.
So if you click on it and you click on OK, you gotta click on I'm okay with that. And if you go to mode and click on the time over there to the right, if you click there and it'll put it into angles and it'll put it into fractions. And then also, what's really weird, if you go to info on that one on the top there by the X.
I'm not seeing it yet.
Up to the right over there by the X, there's a red X.
Yeah.
If you go to info, there's a way for, if you scroll down, that you can do 2 clocks and stuff. It's a really weird website, but it's really neat.
Oh, this is so cool.
I like how I turn it off. You can turn it off because my students are trying to do time, and I'm trying to only give them access to that type of clock in the classroom. So you can go up to off, and it'll turn off the clock. And then if you play around with it, it's really cool. I thought that was really neat.
Look at these. You can do proportions. You can set it up as a fraction. Oh my
Yeah, and
gosh.
under the info, if you play around under the info, there's a way to like make it so you can do like a random one where it's like random. So I don't know where I found this. I found this a long time ago.
You know, this is one of them
So
that
it's really
it doesn't look it looks really simple and kind of plain, but when you see all the cool stuff that it comes up with, like, wow.
because it changes as time goes on. You know, at 8:15, it's going to change to different fractions.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so it changes as you go along. You know, so 8:20. I think at least it's supposed to. I don't know. Go to real time. If you click real time, it'll go to it's just weird. It's just neat.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to play with this. This is so
It
cool.
used to change though. You play with it. It's really. I thought it was really fun when I found that when I was teaching time to my kids.
That one looks like it would be good too for kids who struggle with staying on task because looks like you could highlight minutes for tasks.
I don't know if you can highlight or not. That's a good question. I don't know. It's a good question.
Section. Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Oh, there's a like randomize.
So they can tell you what time it is, and then it's really neat. But the info, it's really weird. The website's weird because it's under the info. There's a lot of stuff to play. There it is. There's how it changed the fractions.
Look at that.
Isn't that weird?
I'm gonna put it back on auto. So it always comes up with the least common denominator. Or that I shouldn't say least the smallest fraction in order to express that.
Crazy, isn't it? It's neat.
So this one has 60th to 15ths. Oh, fun.
I'm glad I was able to find it real quick. You know how you can't find things sometimes to share?
It's
I
like
was
the
able
story
to
of my
type
life.
it in and
Yep.
find it real quick. Yeah, story. Yeah, mine too. Oh my God, we're back face to face right now. So,
Raha, you mentioned decimal squares. These are single-handedly my most favorite manipulative for rational numbers. And I'm working to put many of them up on playingcards.io. So I'm teaching a rational numbers class right now, and I want to get all of these up. They do some really neat ways of talking about decimal division, where it's like, how many times does a green card fit inside the red card? And it makes so much sense conceptually that I don't know why we didn't ever teach it that way from the beginning, or at least, I didn't.
Because I really think it takes longer to build that conceptual, and people feel like they don't have time, and I don't agree with that. But the cool part about that website is that if you change the model on the top, so if you scroll up just a little, let's say you wanted to show them what the tenths looks like in hundreds and then in thousands. I want to show the kids like 5 tenths, it's also 50 hundredths. That's the part that a lot of our kids really struggle with. So I want it, it's just a nice way to show, look, I can still cut it virtually without making it more confusing for them. Yeah, like that. Yeah. And you can do it just by changing the names as well. Yeah.
Larry, I don't know that we ought to play it.
Oh, Teresa, I wish I had money so I can take your classes right now. Amazing.
Right now we are in the rational numbers class, and we use the Susan Lehman book. If you are ever curious about just like diving in deep into rational numbers, you can even get like the first edition, which are super cheap right now on used books right now. But that book has pushed me to think about fractions, decimals, and proportions in the weirdest way. Yeah, it is by Susan Lehman, and it is Teaching Fractions and Ratios for Understanding. So there's,
I tell Lara all the time, I had to learn how to teach fractions because in Bangladesh we just memorize why we do it and we never really like think about the conceptual. So I love teaching fractions and decimals because I had to learn to teach it, if that makes sense.
it does. And I think that that's a, signs of good teachers is when we sit back and we're like, okay, how else can you see this? How do I think about it conceptually? And yeah, this book is incredible. I get so many of my resources from this book, and maybe we can even have a MATHurdays. It's all a game day for decimal games, and I can kind of bring out more of the decimal squares. All right, so let's do a game day. Looking at my Eventbrite, let's get a time in for that. When are you guys getting into decimals for your content? Is that coming up soon?
We just started, but we have 5 more weeks.
Okay.
So anytime you want, because we'll need it all the time.
So I do have a task plan on February 20th. Where we'll do decimal computation, and what I'll try to do then is make sure all the games are ready to go, and have those all ready so that we can have game time. Karina, are you still on? Is there something in particular that you'd like to see more of?
I'm here. I really like the basic stuff, or even you kind of answered my question as you were going on with the virtual manipulative one, just using things like that with kids,
Do you
or just
ever use
my students are they're just low language, so math has become so language rich, and they understand the concepts, but then the math books that we use are just, there's so much language involved, they get lost, so they can't be, there's just so much language involved in it now, like if you look at an old math book, like you find a math book from a long time ago, it's more about like doing the math and not like these crazy story problems these books have. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think there's
For
a
a
lot
math
of
book.
things we can do for our English language learners, such as having the actual word problem read to you in English, read to you in your home language, but also kind of having some more templates like created ahead of time. So I'm really loving Math Learning Center right now because of the way that you can start something and then even have directions on it and share it out. So let me try and get
I put it in the Google Keep, the Math Learning Center. I put it in there. I think I did. Math Learning Center. Did you put that in is that in the?
Oh, here
it's
you
in
go.
the parking lot, right?
This is the one that was kind of from today's also.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just making it visual for them, because it's just they're so. I mean, even the standardized testing is so much. I mean, you read these tests that they make these kids take, and it's just unbelievable.
So if I had like a question that I wanted to ask you, show me 1/3 using these shapes. I'm just writing something real quick. Okay, so that's what I want the kids to get. I don't want them to start with a blank thing. I want them to start with this. I can actually share this link. Now check it out. Click on what I just put in the chat box. You're going to see the same. It's almost like you're pre-started and you see this.
Oh, sweet. That's cool.
And there's
because I could do that. They love the Google Slides. They love being on, and I can see where they're at, and then I'm also battling teaching face-to-face and virtual at the same time, which is like making me want to lose my ever-loving mind. But that'd be nice to because then they're still online,
So in this one here, you set up, it's almost like you set up the worksheet for them. You set up, yeah, Angela, all I did is I set it up how I want. Like I want them to start with
Yeah, do
this.
that again, please. That'd be great.
Yeah, so the original website, I'll put that in, is right here. I set it up. I'm going to put my text box and say, how can you see 1/2? Show me 2 different ways.
Okay.
So that's my big question. I'm going to show one way just to get them started. And now I want them to show more. So I've set up my worksheet, as you might call it. Then I hit this little box with the arrow coming out. Do you see that down there?
Yep.
So that is where you can get, like, if you just want to save your image, copy your image, or here's the magic, share a link. So by
You
sharing,
could put that into a Google slide
you
probably too.
sure can. By sharing that link, now they get this pre-filled in template that now they can work on. Like, okay, I can show 1/2 doing this.
That's awesome because they love showing each other what they've done, and it's just so cool.
Yep. And so now I've edited it, but if you click that link, I don't think you see it. I should check.
Let's see, I clicked it. No, but it's still good. That's awesome.
Yeah, so the link is still the original like template that I set up, and then each kid can add more to it. And that now when I share my way and your way, they're all a little bit different.
Oh, cool. Are you guys familiar with Google Keep, where you can keep a bunch of it's like it's where you can store a bunch of links, and so if you're going from place to place, you don't have to. If we're at home and you find something cool and you are going to work, you email it to yourself. If you go over to Google Keep, you can set up like you can set up places where like I put math and I copy paste it. So then when I go to work, I can click on math and there's all the cool links that I want to open. It's like a visual bookmarks thing.
Oh, cool.
Instead of having a bunch of bookmarks open. It's really neat.
Always fun to learn new things like that.
Yeah, Google Keep is awesome. It's under the little waffle thing there in the Google thing.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really, I've been using that a lot. So what I did today was I just, I go to math and then a lot of the stuff I found from you, I put there. So then when I go back to school, I can just click and then there I put the Math Learning Center in there for just to click on. And it's really nice. So.
Great. All right. Well, if you all don't have any other questions, I'm going to dive into some of the new things that you taught me. Thank you. And I hope you all have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. Yes, everybody thanks for sticking around a little bit later for us today. Have a nice day, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye. See you next week, hopefully.